Welcome to the Tied Together podcast, where we feature everyday people doing extraordinary things. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share so others can join in on the conversation too. 8 years ago, Matt decided he wanted to be in the business of entertaining people, which makes sense since his first performance was at 3 years old singing Johnny Be Good at a family member's wedding. His love for music and people translated into him being one of the top DJs and karaoke hosts in South Atlanta. Matt isn't just fun to be around. His bright smile is also accompanied by a generous heart. He is a friend in the time of need and always finding a way to help those who are less fortunate. Please welcome DJ Matticus Todd.
Whoop whoop.
Welcome, Matt. Welcome.
Very nice to be here, and I'm so glad. Thank you for having me on. It's a super honor, even though we're really good friends. It's a super honor to be on your show today.
Yes. I'm so happy to have you on. And it's so funny where life will take you. Us meeting at karaoke, where you're hosting karaoke, and then we've really formed a friendship throughout the years that I do appreciate.
Absolutely. I feel the exact same way.
Yes. Let's talk about one of your more recent highlights. You were on the Netflix hit reality show, Love is Blind. What was that like?
Oh, man, that was such a blast. And it happened purely by accident, which is, what you spoke about, how people meet each other, and sometimes things just happen out of nowhere. And I remember I was doing a wedding, the local in town that I work at a lot at this venue, and I got a phone call from a DJ friend of mine and said, hey, would you be interested in doing this? I saw it was an email, and I saw at the bottom it was a Netflix producer, and he sent me all the information. He said, I'm working this week and I just can't do it. And I thought, well, I'll clear my schedule for that. So it just happened. Got in touch with the producers the next day. They were super nice, and it was just an awesome experience. I got to meet several of the couples. Lauren and Cameron are my favorite, of course. Favorite. They were so cool to be around, and I got to talk to them just a little bit. But that was a truly awesome experience. I had done a little bit of things with film and TV before, but nothing on this scale. And I spent a lot of time. I spent the whole week there filming, and everybody was super great. Made a lot of good connections, and I actually got to work with two of the producers again on another project. So that was truly the highlight of this past year or two, for sure.
That's really dope. I was very excited to hear that you were on it, because I do believe you deserve, everybody does, but I know you personally, think you deserve every good thing that happens to you. So tell us a little bit about the business that you're in. What do you do specifically?
So, like you said, about 8 years ago, and I'll backtrack a little bit. I have done several different jobs in my life, but none of them really seemed to fit who I was. Even if I was good at them, it just wasn't. It wasn't something that I felt like I could invest myself in that was really worth it. To me. So I was. I was managing restaurants, I had managed 2 different restaurants, and I finally just said I had just had enough of it, and I had some DJ experience, and I kind of found out I was good at it. So that's when I kind of started, and I started off the rip. I made up my mind in one instance, this is what I want to do. And it's really weird for me because I'm not like that. I take a lot of time to process and to, make changes. But anyway, what we do is we're a local entertainment company. We specialize in weddings, karaoke, DJ, even music trivia, music bingo. So there's really a lot of different things that we have done. We've even done regular bingo, which is, maybe more of a senior citizen. Hey, we like doing it too.
I enjoy it.
But really, we like to do that on a local scale, and then for private events especially. So my specialty is I would say more the local side, and also the wedding and private event, and even corporate side as well.
Talk to me about what you were just saying about making a decision. You said you had just decided that this is something you wanted to do. What is there a feeling that comes before or during that?
I think for me, there definitely is. I had worked even in corporate, Citibank and different jobs, for over the phone stuff with mortgages and whatnot. And you can already tell by talking to me that's not my area of expertise. But there was a moment when I came back home. That was in Florida. Jumping around a lot. Excuse me when I do that. But when I was managing the restaurants up here, I was good at that also. I've been in the service industry a long time. I knew what was what, and I was a young manager too. I was, 26, 27, but there's so much that comes with that, on the drama side and the life side. It was very taxing on me, and I don't know what it was, but something, I guess it was just maybe God or something said, you can do better than this, and you just have to trust me. And it's funny because I've never really said that out loud, but that's really what I believe happened. And I took the risk and I started making phone calls, and I had thankfully knew some people in the business, for a long time that did help me and kind of help guide me. But I put in a lot of legwork and made phone calls, and I even remember that I delivered wings while I was building a business, just a little money, and I was doing gigs for free, but yeah, that moment, I just kind of felt like this is it. Like, you've done a lot of other things, and I think this is what you're supposed to do.
Yeah. You're not the first person that has told me that they've done things for free. Like when they have their business that they're doing now, I would say 100%, if not 90% of the people say they do things for free. Why is that important to do things for free when you're starting out?
I believe there's two reasons. Part of it is, and anybody will tell you, you have to get your name out there in the business, whatever business you're in. You have to let people know that you're serious. And one of the ways that, to me, if you're serious about proving yourself in whatever business you're in, at first, at least, you're willing to do it for free or even very discounted, and whatever it is, But you have to get yourself out there to build a reputation, because when you start, you have no reputation. You have no one really knows you as a business owner or anything like that. So it's up to you to put that out there for people to see. And it's actually up to you. It's kind of like putting yourself out on a stage. Everyone will see what you're made of, because you're not sheltered by a company anymore or an organization. You are the organization, and I know you know all about that.
Oh yeah. I mean, you do have to, and it can be nerve-wracking if you don't have the personality type to really be in front of people and speak in front of people. And since I've known you, I think around since I moved here. I think I met you in 2011 or 12, roughly.
I think that's about right.
Yeah. But since I've seen you, you've been very bubbly, very open, very outgoing personality. Were you always like that?
Yes and no. I think, like you mentioned earlier, when I was 3 years old, I would walk around with a banjo and, sing Johnny Be Good to everybody, or ukulele rather. I like to forget about that sometimes, but, I was raised in church also. So I was, 5 years old, I'm singing on stage, with the grown man at 5 years old. So part of me, now I definitely went through a stage where I was very unsure of myself. I've gotten over a lot of that, but part of that still stays with any entertainer or performer, if you will. Part of that humility always stays with you, because you know that, it's I'm trying to think of how to word it. It just, there's always a possibility you won't be as good as you once were, or that personality won't come through. But I think I was born with a lot of it. I have a lot of my dad and mom's personality. I got traits from both, which is good. But it definitely has always been there. But I think when I chose to do this, it definitely pushed itself out even further than it had already been.
It's funny that you called it humility. And for me, so I'm listening to you and I'm thinking about how I was when I was a child and how I am now. I can be very outgoing, but I was a very shy child and I still have shyness within me. And you call it humility. I call that shyness. Is there a difference to you?
I think they're related. I think they're very, I think humility maybe goes a little deeper with it.
Yeah.
And those are things that me and you have talked about, for a long time, for sure. But I think they're really about the same. They do go hand in hand because I think shyness might be a little bit more of a personality thing, but you're basically, you're just being aware of yourself. Mm-hmm. So, and, a lot of people struggle with being in front of people and talking in front of people. And a lot of people, it just comes naturally to. Well, I think, for a lot of us, it's a mixture of both. So you have to, when you figure out what you're supposed to do, you have to kind of come to terms with that about yourself. And a lot of times, I still get nervous to this day over, a big wedding or a private event or oh my gosh, when I did the Netflix thing, I was shaking. I
can imagine.
I mean, because it was just the first time thing for me. And, I always told you I'd be much better on radio because they wouldn't see me. I could just everyone laugh and it'd be great. But when they put me on TV, I was like, oh. I think it's a struggle, but I think it's a little bit of both.
Yeah, that makes sense. I tell my son all the time, because he thinks I'm the most confident person in the world. I'm his mother, right? And he, being in a management position, getting up on a stage and doing karaoke, he's looking at me like, you're not scared of anything. I'm like, listen, I get nervous all the time. In sales meetings, on the karaoke stage, I get nervous all the time, but I explain to him that courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is there being fear and you doing it anyway,
That is exactly right. And it's funny you say that because that's when you're really put to the test is when you're faced with something. It's not the absence of fear. I like that. That's because it's very true. It's definitely not the absence of fear. It's having the fear and then pressing forward and saying, hey, I'm going to do this anyway.
Yeah. Scary or not. Yeah. So I'm sure, and I can't say I'm sure, but you did leave your job to start your own business. So I was going to say I'm sure it was scary. It may have at least been scary for your parents. Did you have friend and family support when you decided to leave your job and go into this on your own?
So absolutely. I absolutely did. I had moved back from Florida, probably, let's see, maybe about a year and a half or 2 years prior to this. So I was living with my parents, my mom and stepdad. And they were gracious. They were just super supportive. They knew that at that time in my life, I needed some help. I needed, just their love and support, or I wasn't going to make it, quite frankly. And when I had took the job, I was managing a local restaurant bar, and they knew what it was, the taxing, what it was doing, and so they were nervous. They were definitely nervous, but they had full confidence. They helped me every chance they could. They saw my work ethic and how I was determined to do it. And I think maybe I even showed them a side of me that they had never seen before. So that helped a lot because they were, I said they were used to a different Matt. So this Matt was a little bit more dedicated, focused on the goals. So, but they definitely supported me a lot in that decision.
Yeah. You were showing them a different Matt. So I'll talk about myself first, because I was an unruly teenager. Like, oh my God, you watch the previous episodes, you'll hear a little bit about it. Unruly, poster child of bad teenager. Gave my parents a hard time. When I was young, my personality then, or who I was then, more so matched who I am now. You could see the transition, but who I was in the middle was like, who is this girl? What's happening? Did you ever have a wild child moment in your life where your parents were just scratching their head like, who's this kid?
Yeah. So for me, the time that really stands out, for the most part, I was a pretty decent kid. I was rebellious like every other teenager, but I never really skipped school. I was a pretty good kid, but my troubling times came after college, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely, and I went back to college twice, but those times where I came back was definitely I was way worse than I was in high school. So I had a lot of just mischievous things and don't tell mom and this kind of thing. But that period in my life was definitely
yeah. And I try not to forget that with my own son, and I've been saying that since he was born. Don't forget the teenage years. Don't forget the teenage years. He'll be okay. But I bring this up to say that I think we all reach a point in our lives where our current selves don't represent our destiny or who we're going to become, and our mindset doesn't. We don't see the greatness that we can be in the future. To any teens or young adults or even older adults who are just in a bad spot and making a bad way for themselves, what would you say that they could start to do if they really wanted to get out of whatever troublesome period that they're in?
It's so great that you say that, because I'm a firm believer in everything you just said. We get in our own way a lot, and I can say that because that's me all day long. And I know that we've talked about this before too. But sometimes I know my own shortcomings and my own failures and what I'm prone to do. Naturally, I'm actually pretty lazy. I'm not self-confident. I mean, there's a lot of things that if someone who knows me would say, oh, that's not you at all. Well, I know that it is, and I would just say, one thing to remember, and it's hard to tell someone, especially a teen who's feels like they're alone and no one understands, where they're at. And I'm sure that your son feels that way a lot too. But I would say that, obviously we're a little bit older, so we definitely know a little bit about what they go through, and to them I would just say, this too shall pass. I know that's an easy thing to say, but it will get better. And if you can put yourself in a mindset to wherever your current situation is, that is not going to be where you end up. If it's a bad situation or it's something that's not ideal, you eventually, if you don't have the power right this moment, you will have the power to change that situation. And it will get better, and it will end up better for you.
Yeah, I agree. Because the teenage years to now are they're completely different chapters.
Yeah.
You may feel like you have to work on all these different things. You're going to be a completely different person in 5-10 years. Those things, I want to say they don't matter. They do matter, because I've said in previous interviews as well, all things work to the good of those who love the Lord. So all these things matter. But it's not as heavy as you think. And it's easier said than done when you're in the middle of it, right?
Right. Absolutely. You're completely right. And it is hard to, to help them feel better about it. But it really, like you said, all things truly do work together. And even if you don't see it, and you remind me of this all the time, if you don't see it, it doesn't mean that things aren't working. And I'm constantly reminded of that. Just even recently, things do work out for those who love the Lord. You're right.
I know. So I want to talk about 2 connecting stories, and we'll start at the beginning. What I think is the beginning of that story is you went to Bible college.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. When you first told me, I was like, what? Pastor Matt?
It kind of shocked, people were like, wow, Bible college to DJ. Well, what a, what a transition. No, I did. I went right after high school. My brother, it was a small college in Florida. And my brother had attended there. My brother's 6 years older than me. So he actually went there before. And then when I graduated, we moved down together and shared a house. So I was gone at 17. I'd graduated at 17 and I turned 18 that summer. But yeah, I was off and running and not super prepared, as you can imagine. But a lot of good things came out of that. If I had to do it over again, I might have waited a little bit, maybe till I was a little more mature and whatnot. But again, I know that it all happened for a reason, and there's several things that came out of that I know were supposed to happen.
Yeah. Can you give us an example of one of those things that's happened?
So one of the cool things was I actually got a singing scholarship. I made the team that was like the main recruiting segment for the college. So I made the team and we traveled almost every weekend to neighboring states. But during the summer, there was 2.5 months where we got in a 15-passenger van and traveled all around the country. So I have been to virtually every state in the country, other than Hawaii. That's the one I want to go to.
Right.
You can't get there in a van, So, but that was one of the great things that came out. I did a lot of things that I never would have done otherwise. So lots of cool stuff, and just got to meet a lot of nice, great, wonderful people. And the second thing was a lot of the relationships, friendships that I encountered while at Bible college, I still have today. And that is probably that's probably the greatest thing that came out of
Sorry.
The greatest thing that came out of that, in my opinion. And I did learn a lot of good stuff too, but my mind probably wasn't, it wasn't where it should have been during that period in my life, for a number of reasons. But the friendships that I still have to this day were definitely worth all that as well.
Were you going with the intention of becoming a pastor or a preacher?
At first, it was more maybe like a music director. I've always been in love with music. I play the piano a little bit, and I've loved to sing, as you know. So at first, it was kind of a music. I was in music classes, and I was a music major. And then later, when I went back, it was more towards the theology side, and I had to take Greek, which I don't recommend for anyone. No, that was extremely difficult. And I actually found one of my Greek notebooks the other day, and I'm looking through and like, how did I even do this? But all good stuff, all things that were meant to happen.
Yeah, I agree. You and I spoke recently when you were doing the parking lot prayers.
Yes.
So recently you were bringing your whole DJ setup to the parking lots of hospitals and playing gospel music for the essential workers, right? Early in the pandemic. And you and I spoke, or I sent you a message rather, just telling you, just look at how things just lined up, from you going to college, Bible college, with the intention of ministering music. And today you are still ministering in music,
It's so funny. That's exactly what my thought was as well. When that came up, and again, it started from nothing. It started from a text message from my sister who said, hey, me and my best friend are thinking of doing this. And immediately, I was on board immediately. I just was like, again, one of those moments where you're just like, this is what I'm supposed to do. And man, it still gives me chills to this day, because it was such a difficult time for a lot of people. Everybody pretty much was impacted in some way, still is. But it was something that I could do in my realm, where I wasn't really, I didn't have an outlet to minister, with music at that time. So when that happened, it just opened all these, and it became a thing for so long. And we'll probably do it again, pretty soon. Was even talks about that, but it was such a great thing. That's probably one of the probably the thing I'm most proud of, especially today, is and again, it wasn't me at all. It's just how God put it together, and it touched so many people and gave them encouragement in such a dark time. And it holds a very special place in my heart, because it was I would say magical. It was just very, when you see these healthcare workers coming out and hearing the music, and lots of them were just, waving their hands and just so thankful that, they had the support of their community behind them. So that was truly an awesome thing to be a part of.
Oh yeah. And you had a lot of people come out too. They would come and they would park up and put on their hazards and, stand by their car because we had to social distance, and just a lot of support from the community for you and for the essential workers, which I know that they were very grateful for that.
Yeah, it was just tremendous, and it turned into something so different than we had originally, thought. We thought it'd be a few cars, but everybody was just so on board with it. And it was truly something that everyone could get behind, and I just love things that everybody can come together and support. It's like, hey, I'm in. Like, it doesn't take a second thought. And we did it for a lot of different hospitals, which I thought was great too, because we didn't just focus on Piedmont Henry down the road, or we went to Southern Regional, which is gets forgotten a lot, and they were so grateful. We went there a couple times. But yeah, it was just a great opportunity to be able to reach out to them and let them know we were thinking about them and praying for them also.
Yeah. So, you do things like this with this same kind of heart in a lot of different areas. You're always giving, you're always joining up for some kind of, event for children or for the elderly. You're always there for people. Is there a reason behind that? Were there times that you needed help, or did you see that reflected from somebody else's actions that taught you to do that? What is it that got you to this place now?
It's a combination of things. I always, I guess one of the biggest motivators for me is that I am so blessed, and I just get reminded of that all the time. I started a business from, two raggedy speakers and and about a 15-year-old, DJ mixer. And, now I have, I'm sitting here looking at, thousands of dollars of equipment. And I try not to take the credit for what I haven't done. I think God has just been extremely good to me. I know he has. And I try to always keep that in the forefront of my mind. And I think if people will come into things with a spirit of thankfulness, and I definitely am not an expert on it. I have a hard time with it as well, all the time. But if you'll come into things with a spirit of gratefulness, and man, I'm just blessed, even if there are things going wrong, you always have multiple things to be thankful for. And I just think that with me, I look back on my life and I just see so many, I'm trying to think of passes maybe, or, just blessings. And so I think, it's mine. I was blessed that way to be able to turn around and bless someone else, and we don't always listen to that voice that says, hey, bless that person or be a blessing to them, whatever you can do to help do that. But the more often we listen to that voice, it's just so beneficial to, it just helps you grow as a person, and being a blessing to other people. I think that's just a lot about what life is all about.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's our job. You and I are both passionate about giving and taking care of people. So I wish that everybody just felt like it was their job. Like the way you have to get up and brush your teeth or go to work, like just planning your day that you have to be generous in some form or fashion. And that doesn't always mean monetarily. I was having that conversation with my niece the other day, and how can you be generous? Be generous with your love, be generous with your compliments. If somebody wants a hug, be generous in that. And if they need some shoes and you can get them some shoes, buy them some shoes.
Exactly. Of shoes.
Who doesn't?
I have more pair of shoes than my wife has. I think to your point, absolutely. I think it is our job. And I think that's why we are blessed and why we are given the tools that we have been given, And I will speak, I know you won't like this, but you are one of the people that have definitely inspired me and you know that I'm going to, if I tear up, the pollen is just bad in the room. But you have definitely inspired me whenever, and I will say this, I think God uses people in our lives so instrumentally. And whenever I am not feeling generous or I'm not feeling, I've done enough, and it's never a spoken thought, but it's always, it's a thought. Oh, I'm tired. I look at other people such as yourself who dedicate a large part of their life to making sure that kids have, clothes on their backs and they have the tools that they need to succeed. That inspires me very much so. So I think that maybe when I'm having an off day or other people are having an off day, they look at other people, and we all take turns. They look at other people who are having an on day, with their generosity and their faith and their giving. And it just inspires them all the way around to, hey, let's do this. This is what we should be doing anyway. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Thank you for that in my life as well.
Thank you. And I will say this, there are a lot of times where I'm having an off day, and because I'm having an off day, I'll give something to a stranger. It has nothing to do with the nonprofit. I will literally leave my house and look for somebody to give something to, because I'm having the worst day in the world, and maybe somebody else could have a better day. And it helps, so if you're looking for the selfishness in giving, well, it'll help you feel better.
That's good. No, that is very good. That's good advice. I will take that.
And I'm sure the other person won't be mad. Like, you need to feel better, do something nice for somebody else.
I likes a free breakfast.
Why not? So Matt, so tell me a little bit about who you were growing up, and how that inspired who you are today.
Okay. I say I had a pretty good childhood. I have really I had a good childhood. I was picked on a good bit, I would say, when I was in elementary school and even some in middle school. Wasn't extremely popular, had some friends, and, probably I made the basketball team in middle school, which was the highlight I scored 5 points the whole season, but that was still of my career, my sports career. But in high school, I gained some popularity and whatnot, and kind of found out I was funny. I could tell a joke, make people laugh, and I kind of found that was my outlet, was making people smile, and I feel like it has shaped a lot of who I am, and I will say. I will say something about my mom. Growing up, she was very sacrificial. She would give, and I think you probably already see this about my mom because you've met her. She would, if I needed $10 to go to the mall with my friend, which was nothing, but she would give her last $10 so I could go with my friend and have. And I know that sounds like a kind of a dumb example, but she would make sure that I was okay and that we were okay, yeah. And she would go without all day long. And I think a lot of people can say that about their parents, that they were just sacrificial in their giving towards their kids. But I'll always be grateful to my mom for that, and I think that she, to this day, has I think that's part of why I try to help people when I can, and I do, because she won't tell you a lot of good things, like, oh, I love, but she'll just do it, Mm-hmm. She's not overly flattery with the tongue, but she will give you whatever you need, you know.
That's funny. That's funny because my mom is very similar. Now that she's getting a little bit older, I'm not calling her old, I'm just saying older in comparison to when I was little, in case she's watching.
Oh.
But as she's gotten older, she becomes more, she compliments more. But she didn't really compliment a whole bunch as a child. But you knew that she loved you because she did things like that. And let me tell you, from speaking to your mother on numerous occasions, she brags about Matt. Okay?
So funny.
So she's not telling you, she's telling the whole world except you. She loves you to pieces. I know it.
Oh, that makes me feel good. She's the best, definitely.
Yes. So tell me a little bit about the COVID effects on your business. How do you DJ when you can't go outside? How do you maintain?
It's was very challenging, and as you know, everything hit so quickly, and it just kind of knocked everybody off their feet. And thank goodness that Jess, my wife, was still working through the whole thing. But I tell you, it just hit all of a sudden, and pretty much within a week, I would say a week or two, all of my shows, all the accounts that I had weekly, had shut down completely, temporarily. And then all of my weddings and my private events that were on the books. And I had the books. It's so funny because when everything started around March, really hitting heavy, I think it was middle of March, end of March, maybe from the end of March on, I was booked solid until, probably December of this year, which I was so thankful for, so happy. And I was like, yes, I'm about to start my busy season. It's going, and then everything just stopped, and there was a lot of reschedules. And thankfully, I was able to reschedule a lot of the events. I only had maybe a couple cancellations, but nothing terrible. But it did have a huge impact on the business. But again, like with everything else, I tried to just trust God, and He never disappoints. I was able to do, and really it was just spur of the moment. I play a little piano, so I was playing the piano and that's one of my releases too. If I'm going through something or I just need to, chill out, I'll go play something and sing. Well, I told my wife, I said, I think I'm going to go live tonight. And I'm just going to, play a couple songs. And I was terrible. I hadn't practiced in a long time. Well, I go live, and about 3 hours later, I'm still going live, taking requests for people. And it's just this amazing thing, and I had seen some of my other colleagues do this. Matthew Mayo, who I love to death. And he was another person that was so inspiring to me during this time. Just would do anything he could to help. God used several people to help encourage us, and even financially, when I had no income from the business coming in, it was just very, very humbling, very humbling.
Yeah. What's the biggest blessing you think you've gotten out of the pandemic?
Oh, wow. I would say just witnessing people be generous to each other has just, again, it's one of those inspiring things. Everyone just came together, stopped what they were doing, and people who still had their essential jobs and were going to work every day. People you wouldn't even look at as, maybe the prime candidates to do this, were going out and seeking people out to help and to, hey, if you need anything, you call. And it was just super. That was just a blessing to me, because that's how it should be all the time, and this just kind of, it was, I have to say, it was a trying time, but it was such a blessing. It was such a humbling time and a sweet time, if I can say. It was just to watch it. And I would go live 2 or 3 times a week, and and we, you participated in my online karaoke, my Zoom karaoke. And we had a blast. We had such a good time, and it was different, but it was so. it was just so sweet to see everybody come together and put aside their differences and just, just be there for each other. I absolutely love that.
Yeah, yeah. We know that a lot of tragedy occurred during the pandemic, but there have been blessings as well. And we all need to take time and be grateful, as you said. Yeah.
Go ahead.
No problem. So what's up next for you, Matt?
We have, everything is get back in gear a little bit, and our wedding business is doing fantastic. We have, I would say, inside of 20 weddings on the books for next year, somewhere around 14 or 15 for 2021 already on the books. I'm always passionate about the wedding business. I don't think that will stop anytime soon. I love being a part of people's special day. It's just very special for me. It's just something different than just doing a party, or you're a part of their memories for their day. We want to do a lot of other things. Maybe hopefully a little bit more TV work, with Netflix or whoever. And there's different things that we want to do. We're going to start doing some equipment rentals and different. There's a lot of different things that we can do, and now we're moving towards some of those goals in the future.
Yeah.
And we'll always be partnered with you and doing what you do for Tied Together, and just fully believe in that organization all the way. So we want to do a lot of different things, and especially with the community as well. So we'll talk about things to come in the future.
Yes, I appreciate you. I did want to touch on something. So you said you started with 2 beat-up speakers and a 15-year-old computer. I won't say why. Do you think it's important to start where you are, just start with what you have? Or do you think it's better to be as prepared as the professional you look up to?
It's so funny that you said that, because I was mentoring someone in the business about a year ago, and I told them that very same thing. I said, it's important to not try to look ahead too far. Now, looking ahead is good, but you have to look at what you have, and part of you it's not being complacent, but you have to be thankful for where you're at and use the tools that you have now to further yourself. And so when you get a little bit further, then you say, okay, I'm right here now. Okay, I can do this and this. I can afford this. So if you take baby steps, as opposed to trying to leap into, and I'll give you an example. And this doesn't fit for everyone, but this is a financial example. Okay, someone who works in my business, if you work 10 gigs, you make X amount of money and you buy new equipment. Okay, you have terrible equipment, it's not working good. So you work, and then you save that money, and then you go out and you upgrade your equipment. Well, the other person might say, man, I've got terrible equipment. I'm gonna go get in debt, $6,000 or $7,000. We'll just throw a number out there, and then I don't have the business to back it up yet, but I'm gonna get this nice stuff, so then I'll get the business. Well, you see the flaws, and again, this is just me, but I think you grow a lot when you take inventory of where you're at now, and then you make steps to get better. I think there's a big growth that takes place in that time that you might not necessarily catch when you jump ahead, and when and again, this is relating more to my business, but I think it's important to be thankful where you're at and to grow gradually, because I feel like it sustains more than just, trying to, I got to have this, in any business, as well. Like we talked about, doing things for free in the beginning and whatnot. I think it's just all part of the steady growth process.
Yeah. Can't skip steps at all. Mm-hmm. Matt, where can the people find you if they'd like to book you or come watch a show? Where can they find you, online or wherever?
My Facebook, my personal Facebook is Matt DJ Matticus Todd, and then my business page on Facebook is just Matticus Live. It's Matticus and then live. You can go on. There's plenty of content that shows a lot of the parties, a lot of the events that we do. All the booking information is on there, email, phone number, all of that. And you can always reach out to me on Facebook. I have 2 messages waiting for me right now, actually, which is great. During the weeks, I have 2 shows at Benchwarmers, and we're actually growing by a couple accounts here in the next week or 2. So I'll be putting that information out on social media, and we're super excited about the new shows that we have coming, and I'll let you know about those as well.
Dope. And then lastly, what is a quote that you live by?
Oh, wow. That is good. I would have to say one that stands out, and this is a common one, but I'll use a little scripture, which I don't do a lot, but I can do all things through Christ, which strengtheneth me. I think that's been my backbone for a long time, because alone we can't do it, but with his help we can do anything.
Yep. That's actually right here on this bracelet.
Really?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Matt, you are just a shining personality. You're a shining star in the community. And any of these days that you happen to be beating up on yourself, you really have to remember that God created you something special. And you make a lot of people smile. You bring a lot of joy to people. And I can't wait to continue to watch you grow and blossom. I've loved it already, If you are not going to Matticus's karaoke events, his parties, you need to. The next time he is on TV, you'll know, because you'll be following him on Matticus Live. So just make sure you tune in and follow his journey. Matt, I thank you so much for being on today.
Thank you so much for having me, Keisha. The pleasure was all mine.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.
I could save them a lot of time and kind of say to them, don't worry about how many likes you get. I'm guilty of that. I mean, when I first started, I thought, if you've got 10,000 likes, you're famous, or people love you, you're popular. It's not the case. It's fake. It's fake in the respect that it just means that 10,000 people click like to the scroll through their newsfeed. So it doesn't mean they'll stop and think, oh my God, I love him. And it's kind of, I built my kind of original when I first started. The more likes I get, the more famous, the more popular I am. And I kind of worked myself into the ground trying to build Instagram up. And I got to about 32,000, and then it leveled out. And then kind of like people who have got 10 million, or you've only got to look at the things and kind of work out the people who've got 10 million. You look at their likes, they've got like 50,000 likes out of 10 million followers. So a lot of their followers are brought. So I kind of looked at it and I thought, I just can't be bothered anymore. I don't care. I'm just basically, I used to be so worried about what I posted, how many likes it got. And even kids nowadays, they remove posts if they don't get many likes. And I just kind of thought, I'm not into any of that anymore. And I kind of just put things on. I didn't care, because for me, you see my stuff on Instagram and Twitter and all that. A lot of my work is done behind the scenes that people never see.
Right.
Like I work with actors, I network, I do Zoom meetings. I post something kind of just to let people know what's going on, but majority of my work is done via email. So I'm on my emails all day, I'm having Zoom meetings, I'm having phone calls, I'm doing things behind the scenes. And I don't share everything that I do, because I would just spend all day posting. I kind of look at some things and think, what do I want to post? So I just kind of get at least a post on a day. But I don't really care how many likes it gets, because I'm too busy doing things behind the scene and making things happen and kind of networking. I used to be so much about how many likes, how many followers. I think if you're writing, you're a new writer, and I get new writers kind of message me all the while, can you give me a shout out because I need loads of followers? And I'm like, and also some of them are too scared to post their first post. And I encourage so many writers to say, just post it. Yeah, and that's how I started. I was like, they were like, how did you do it? I've been so scared to put it on. I just kind of took a leap of faith and put it on. And I know loads of people but they showed me the work on DMs. It's like, this is amazing. Why not post it? I'm scared.
Yeah.
And it's like, don't be scared, because,
do
do it.
Do
And I think there's a lot of people that don't post because they're scared, and a lot of people that post because they want likes. And I think two things: don't worry about likes, and post because you want to post, not
I
because
think
you're
in
worried
both
about
of those that they're both versions of that person are worried about what other people think. Period.
To be fair, I used to be that way, and only because I thought as a society that that's how I should be. I thought that if I got 50 likes, 200 likes, next I got 500 likes, oh my God, I'm more popular tomorrow. And it's fake. I mean, it is fake. Talk about fake news. It is fake. It doesn't mean a thing. So I kind of took me a while to learn that, but I would say to new people, and actually even at one point, Instagram are going to start removing likes because they were so self-conscious of people actually focused. Yeah, it hasn't happened, but it would have been so great, I think, to take that fear away. But I would just say, like, I started out and I was scared. I would just say, go for it. And I went on the BBC and they kind of said to me, you need a book out. And I didn't think about a book, and it was just like, just go for it, James, go for it. And I was like, what have I got to lose? And since then I haven't looked back.
Right.